Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Nnamdi Odipo. As Nigeria strives to achieve national food security, the unsung heroes of women farmers are taking center stage. We would explore the vital role women farmers play in feeding the nation and discover how their efforts are bringing Nigeria closer to its national food security objectives. And next, I'll bring on a cybersecurity expert to speak on tips on how to safeguard our personal finances, our phones, and yes, our bank accounts as well from malicious attacks, especially now as we begin to make our personal and family budgets for the year 2025. It is a fact that in today's digital age, cyber attacks are lurking around every corner, threatening to compromise our savings and digital assets. Let's begin the conversation.
Whatever the issues are,
the National Assembly is constitutionally empowered to scrutinize,
however complex or intricate.
We have involved all the academia, the members of the academia. We have involved the academies.
Be it government policies or in fact any issue of public concern.
Our job is to help you gain clarity and make sense of it all.
This is not really healthy for our democracy.
There's a lot of aggrievance in terms of who has been in power longest and who becomes the governor of the state.
It's also in the quality of food being consumed.
After all, perception is insight.
And gaining understanding is also getting insight.
There are a couple of things that we as Nigerians are collectively hopeful for in the new year, the year 2025. One of them is food security. And by that, I mean availability of produce and lower prices for foodstuff and, items, as it were. And, as the nation sets its sights on achieving self-sufficiency in food production, the role of women farmers has become more pivotal than ever. Despite facing unique challenges and barriers, women farmers are driving agricultural innovation, boosting yields and nourishing communities. Let me bring in my first guest. She calls herself Farmer Omolara Stevenson. She is the National Coordinator, National Women for Agricultural Progressive and Development Initiative. Together, Omolara and I will be highlighting the triumphs, as it were, and yet the challenges of women farmers in Nigeria while examining their efforts. Women farmers, in general, efforts at sowing the seeds of food security in Nigeria in 2025. Welcome to Insight, and good to have you back here.
Thank you. Good to have you back good to be back here. Happy New Year.
Good. Happy New Year to you as well. Matter of fact, I understand women farmers in Nigeria are having an AGM, annual general meeting, facilitated by your group, of course.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's very correct.
How does that tie to this whole renewed vigor by women farmers to take the lead in bringing down, the food prices in Nigeria, whether by boosting agro production or perhaps marketing as well, in this 2025 farming cycle, as it were?
Thank you so much. So the AGM would be in form of a seminar where we are going to empower, train, and sensitize our women in preparation for the farming year ahead. And this, of course, we know from what we've done in the past that is going to help to boost our yield this year, and by so doing, reducing the costs of food in the market, because there will be more food available for our people in the country to consume and at affordable prices.
So it will take beyond talking in one meeting, sitting in the comforts of ACs and discussing these challenges. It is much bigger than that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. So, like I said, the AGM is splitted into sections. So we're focusing on leveraging on technology to increase and to maximize the potentials in the agricultural sector. We're also going to be talking about agri-cert. Agri-cert is one of our projects that is focused on training and empowering our youth and women when it comes to commodity packaging and processing documentation for export purposes. But coming back home now, at the AGM as well, we're also going to be giving out input, support, training on how to maximize your yield for the year 2025, because our target and our aim is to attain food sustainability, is to make sure that the price you'll be paying for tomato during Salah would not be as high as it was last year.
It isn't just during Salah, by the way. It should be all year round.
No, I use during Salah
I
because that's when it's usually, the prices usually skyrocket,
mostly during the festival period, as a matter of fact, Salah, Christmas, and every other holiday, as it were, or even any other day, as it were. But yes, I hear you, and I hear you loud and clear, and, the targets that you've set for yourselves as women farmers. But, despite their significant contributions to agriculture, as it were, in Nigeria, women farmers in Nigeria continue to face challenges, whether it's in accessing land, whether it's in accessing credits, or, other essential resources. We still see women farmers undertake most farm operations themselves, including even the more difficult ones, like clearing their lands and preparing these lands for cultivation. Are there specific policy interventions that women farmers are targeting this time around, perhaps under the Tinubu administration, to address these disparities and ensure that women farmers have equal access, like their men, to resources that they need to thrive?
Yes, so Nigeria on paper has one of the best policies in the world when it comes to agri sector. But these policies is not really inclusive for policies that works with women and youth. So yes, the Tinubu administration needs to work with us to come up with policies that is inclusive of the female gender and our youth. And also the policies that are in place already, which is not so bad really, it just needs some upgrading. There has been no policy implementation for as far as I can remember. Who are the people implementing these policies? Who are the people enforcing these policies? We do not have policy implementation. And women are not also, that's to answer the policy aspect of it. In terms of challenges, there is no financial inclusion for women. You can check with the National Bureau of Statistics Bureau, NBS, I believe that's what they're called.
Yes, correct.
The loans that are properly serviced, 95% of it has been given to women. And yet, women are not included when it comes to financial inclusion. This is a major challenge we're facing, and this administration, in order for us to attain food sustainability, needs to seriously look into it. Financial inclusion. Now, accessibility to farmland.
Yes.
Accessibility to farmland is a very big issue we're facing in the country. And contrary to what the general belief is, that this problem is only peculiar to the northern part of Nigeria. I'm from the south, and I can tell you we have the same problem with our women in the south. The third one, which is very, very important, is sensitization. I can't say it enough.
I'm sorry to butt in here, but I want you to dwell a bit on this second one, access to land.
Yes.
And I say this because some of the issues surrounding the issue of access to land, you try to talk about maybe being predominant in the north, but of course playing out in the south as well. These are deeply cultural, deeply traditional issues. So you're contending with issues that are deeply ingrained in rural communities. I mean, part of what you do is advocacy. Yes, government would come in at some point, initiate policies, but at the ground level where these things play out, what do groups like your, or what exactly, or what are the kind of changes that groups, advocacy groups like yourselves, like yours, as a matter of fact, I beg your pardon, like yours, really want to see, the kind of changes you want to see when it comes to this subject of access to land?
Okay, thank you. I'll answer that from my third point, sensitization and our orientation as a people. Okay. I personally had made tons and tons of courtesy visit to traditional and religious leaders, because that is where the work starts from. Our religion and our tradition is not helping when it comes to the issue of land accessibility to a woman or for a woman, not only in the north, but of course predominantly in the north. We paid visit to traditional rulers and religious rulers for them to actually sit and work with us. Then we bring in the political aspect of it or the government aspect of it. Because the truth is, our women are the ones that is cultivating the food that we are consuming as a nation. There is no argument in that. So this issue of land accessibility plays a major role in us having food insecurity in the country. And that's why I use this medium again to reach out to our traditional rulers, religious rulers, and the government. These are the three stakeholders and us, of course, that we need to come to the table and start putting policies and religious and traditional beliefs in place to see to it that an average Nigerian man on the street would understand why his wife, his daughter should also have right to land ownership as much as his male child does.
It's not a function of law now. Have established that women have a right to property, women have a right to own land and all of that. So it's not a function of law.
It is actually. The implementation can come from the government. After God is government. If government wants to really see this happening, they know how to go about it and to... Okay, the law is there, but like I said earlier, who is implementing these policies and these laws? The implementation has to be done. Nobody is above the law. So if the government really wants this to happen, they work with what we call implementation of this law.
Okay. So now, again, I take you back to what you said about your advocacy to traditional leaders and all of that. And I think, and this is just my opinion, you know, I would think what we need largely is perhaps behavior change.
Yes, that was my third point.
Yes.
When I said sensitization and orientation. The National Orientation Agency really needs to work with us. I say it all the time. We've tried to reach out to them. Our orientation as a people needs to be upgraded, you know, to use a nice word. You know, our orientation as a people, every single one of us, traditional rulers, religious rulers, the farmers, our children, our husbands, our women, you know, we need an upgrade, an update when it comes to our orientation. Until that is done, we will keep having food insecurity in the country, because I don't understand why a woman loses her husband. On the farmland, she's been farming for decades with her husband, and the family of the husband comes and kicks her out with 7 children with no source of livelihood.
And these are practices that need to end.
These are practices that need to end. And from this farm she's been kicked off, she eats maybe 30% of her farm produces and take the remaining 37% to the market. So that 70% that has been stopped from being taken to the market would reduce the access to food that you have as a Nigerian. So it's a complete value chain, and all hands has to be on deck in order for us to see positive change.
I want us to talk about this market that you've talked about now. And I know, aside the challenge of access to land and some of the other issues we've mentioned, they also, women farmers also face challenges in participating, you know, in the agricultural value chain, whether it's from processing to marketing. In fact, there's just a little percentage of women farmers in Nigeria today who are processors. You know, what initiatives can be implemented to support women farmers in assessing the market, adding value to their products, and increasing their incomes?
Okay, so I'm going to take us a bit back to the AGM. We're training 1,000 women for processing and export purposes this year, and it's going to start at our AGM. Yes, women need to get into processing, but 3 challenges we have. First of all is the right training. Second of all is the financial aspect of it. So you see, it's interwoven. If we're not included financially, we cannot, even when we're trained. I have a lot of women that are trained for fish processing, adding value to cassava, adding value to soya, and what have you. But then we finish training them, and it comes to, oh, I need 50 million naira to set up my processing plant. Then you ask a woman who's just about to start a journey in the processing world to go and bring a house as a guarantee before you can set up a processing plant for her. So these are all the places as an association that we're coming in to step in, you know, to have JVs, to bring partners in that can set up a processing plant, and as the time goes on, you pay back and all. So these are the challenges we're facing, but we are not relenting, and we're making progress. We are putting in place now training, like I said before, bringing in the private and government sector and international agencies to work with us so that at the end of the day, it will be a win-win thing for every one of us. But yes, we need to focus more on processing and, of course, after we fed ourselves, export commodities.
Yes, you and I talked about exports just before we came into the studio. In fact, I was just saying something about how you were shining, and then you said yes. Now I'm an exporter, agricultural exporter. I'll talk a bit about that, and then the potential there for women farmers in terms of exporting agricultural produce beyond the shores of our country.
Yes. So, well, like I say to people, everything you see on me is agricultural wealth. But unfortunately, the country...
That's something else that we know you say a lot.
Yes.
Agricultural wealth.
Yes. But unfortunately, I've had big scars, financial loss, because of what I call the Nigerian factor. It's one thing for us to train our women, to empower them, to understand commodity export, documentation, and what have you. But the federal government need to put in place conducive environment for us to strive as a nation, as a people. I'll give you an example. Okay. When the gridlock in Apapa started, I personally lost over hundreds of millions of naira on hibiscus because I had over 40 containers of hibiscus that were standing in queue in Lagos for over 1 month. In the heat of Lagos, you know. Now, we also have the challenges of electricity cost. We have challenges of importation of equipment for processing and packaging that is of international standard. When it comes to commodity export, most part of the job lies on the table of this administration. For example, importing of equipment that has to do with commodity packaging and processing duty-free. You know, make sure that there is road accessibility from the farm to outside the farm where we have our processing plant, and invest in our women for the love of God, for training, for sensitizations, and make all of these equipment accessible through the Bank of Agriculture, through AFDB, through Ministry of Agric. We don't necessarily have to pay for this equipment upfront. There are so many ways the government can assist us. Because like I said, we have a lot of our women that are trained, but where is the equipment to do the job?
Mention one way that you think government can assist.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, set up a procurement department with the Bank of Agriculture. If I am qualified, train me, I'm qualified, set up my processing plan, and from my proceed, I pay the bank back every month or each time I do my exportation.
Isn't that in play already with some of the initiatives that government already has existing?
No, none has been launched. It's in the pipeline. None has been launched.
We'll talk some more about some of the issues that maybe we'll end on that part when you reference training and all of that. I would reintroduce that by way of extension services.
Yes.
Okay, and then we'll land on that. But just before that, I need your thoughts on something I consider quite germane as well, and that's the impact and effect of climate change on farming and agricultural production in Nigeria. I say this because you and I saw what played out across the country last year with the flooding that happened.
And no rain in the southwest.
You know, and with climate change effects varying and differing across the country, where we had droughts in some areas, we had flooding in some areas. All of these examples of some of the devastating impact, that we're talking about in terms of impact of climate change. And research or findings appear to show that women farmers often bear the brunt of the effects. So our advocacy groups, women farmer advocacy groups like yours, providing support to women farmers in adapting, to climate change, and what strategies can be employed to mitigate its impact, on agricultural productivity.
Okay, so first of all, again, it boils down to our orientation, because this is, I have a lot of experience in this. We are sensitizing our women to know where to bring God in and where to face reality. We all pray. We are all prayer warriors, whichever way it is. But the fact remains that climate change is real and it is upon us. So first of all, we're training our women to understand that the fact that you went to all night does not guarantee you that rain will fall tomorrow. With that being said, we are also working hand in hand, in collaboration and partnership with the National Agricultural Insurance Corporation, that is NAIC, to also sensitize our farmers for the importance of insurance, especially since climate change is now upon us and it's not much we can do about it. It's not like before that we could say, rain is going to fall from June to August. That we don't have that anymore. Even NIMET cannot give us that. So we are working in partnership with NIC to train, sensitize, and also they've come up with lovely packages for our farmers at every level. You know, you that has 3 acres, you that has 1 acre, you that has 20 hectares. You know, so these are the measures we're taking when it comes to the issue of climate change. Because last year in the Southwest, we lost a lot of money during the rainy season because there was no rain. And also up north as well, we saw all the flooding, which again, our members in the north lost a lot of money. The ones that were able to at least sleep at night were those that took the initiative to insure their farmland.
Great. I said we would land on agricultural extension services because you somewhat referenced that earlier. I mean, it's an area that I consider important and good enough. You have already spoken to it. But how can women, or rather, you know, women farmers particularly in Nigeria, you know, with some of the issues that we've talked about, like access to critical, to credits, to lands and all of that. But when it comes to agricultural extension services, how can they also assess issues like training and advisory services, technological transfer, some of what you've talked about, leveraging technology, you know, and all of that? What work are groups, again, I come back to groups like yours that are support groups, doing in this direction in order for such extension services to be strengthened, you know, to better support women farmers? To better support women farmers, do you also consider women farmers as being better and more adept to embracing digital technologies in assessing some of these extension services that you and I think may be of value to them?
Yes, our women, our orientation, like I said, is we upgrade ourselves on a daily basis. And yes, we as the National Association for Women in Agriculture, we are setting trainings for the first half of the year. We're launching this at the AGM for the first half of the year on these subject matters. You know, leveraging on technology to maximize the potentials in the agricultural sector, and extension services cannot be left out of that. Already, even our grassroots farmers in the villages are having to go to the town, to the cities, to business centers on their children's Android phone to get updates on our website. Our registration is completely digital. You have to go on our website to do it. And it will surprise you that we're doing training. We have town halls where we gather all our farmers that are grassroots farmers, and we train them to see, look, the Yorubas, we say, Tayeba Shenyi, Nikama Bayi, as the world is evolving, you have to keep evolving with it. So yes, our women are evolving. And to correct a notion you just said, do I think the women are setting the pace in this industry? We have been setting the pace since the independence of Nigeria, and we're setting the pace. And that's why we are now advocating that we can't be doing all of this and not be given the credit. We won't have an argument there. You know? So yes. The women are open and we are upgrading ourselves. We are evolving on a daily basis. So extension services is what we even do this amongst ourselves at the ward level. Most of my ward coordinators have days a week where they gather and we're spreading the knowledge. It's just that we need government to pay more attention to us so that we can then attain food sustainability. And our target is to see a Nigeria where our GDP will be solely based on agriculture. And it will be a beautiful, wonderful Nigeria. It is possible. This country is the land that flows with milk and honey. That is practically the land flows with milk and honey. So if we if we put our act right, we know what we're doing, we are too blessed not to be great.
Hopefully, women farmers will be the arrowhead and the lead.
We are already.
Yes. Yeah. I'd like to thank you so much, Farmer Omolara Stevenson, National Coordinator, Nigerian Women for Agricultural Progressives and Development Initiative, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're correct.
Fantastic. I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the program. It's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.
As we welcome the new year 2025, many of us are focused on setting financial goals and making budgets for school fees, for household expenses, and other necessities. However, with increasing threats of cyber attacks, malwares, and phishing scams, it is more important than ever to prioritize the security of our personal savings, security of our phones and bank accounts as well. My guest and I will be discussing the best practices for safeguarding your digital assets and exploring the most common threats, to your financial security. Let me introduce my guest, Dr. Oluwayomi Godwin Asogbon, President and CEO, Global Tech World Professionals Limited. Dr. Asogbon is a renowned certified ethical hacker. He is a forensic investigator, a prolific writer, legal advisor, IT expert, but most importantly, and for the purpose of our discourse, he is a cybersecurity arbitrator. The good doctor here has a massive CV, apparently, but let me just stop here and formally welcome Doc to our program. Doctor, welcome so much. Thank you for joining us virtually from Lagos on this episode of Insight. It's good to have you here. Fantastic. Thank you so much. We seem to have an audio issue there with you, but of course, thank you for joining us. Doc, phishing scams are becoming increasingly sophisticated in Nigeria. Can you help us identify some of the most common tactics used by phishers, to trick individuals into reviewing sensitive information, and how can individuals, protect themselves?
Yes. Thank you, the great presenter. When you talk about phishing is one of the tools used by hackers to perpetrate cybercrime on victims. Unfortunately, many Nigerians are not aware of this latest development in this perilous time of ours. When you talk about phishing, it's also a member of the malware. When you talk about malware, we talk about malicious software. Apart from phishing, we have virus, we have Trojan, we have spyware, name it. These are different, tools that hackers, internet fraudsters are using today to penetrate into the victim's network, into victim's account, into victim's data infrastructure. Now, when we talk about how did they use this to penetrate, in most cases, they use this on our email. On our email, when you open your mail and you found a link on your mail, this link on your mail, you should not click on it unless it has attachment. That's number one. Number two, where you have been asked to fill certain details relating to your bank details, please don't fill, because they need those information to be able to attack your bank account. Apart from that, where you are told that your ATM has expired, your ATM card has expired, that there is no need for you to come to the bank for them to help you to reactivate the ATM, renew the ATM, so that you can start using the ATM. When you hear this, please don't fill this information. Don't respond to such mail. Let me give you an instance. About 2 years ago, a woman was called upon around December 2003 that they are calling from XYZ Bank. And the woman said, yes, they are a banker. And they said, her ATM has expired. She acknowledged that her ATM has expired. And they said, man, because of this season, we do not want you to come to the bank and join the queue. We want to help you to renew your ATM card from the bank so that you can start using the ATM. Do you know that these people already know that this woman just received about 5 million from her son that stays in Dubai? The son sent the money to her to go for shopping, buy shoes and the like, so that she can save during that Christmas period. So unknown to her, they asked her to go and bring out the ATM so that they could get some information from the ATM and help her to renew the ATM card. The first thing they asked her, they said, Mama, open the ATM and call the first 16 digits on the ATM. And she opened it, she called the 16 digits. They wrote it down. They asked her to call the expiring date. She do. And they asked her to turn the back of the ATM so that she could call then the CVV, which is the credit verification value. Luckily for her, one of her daughter was just coming and asked her, Mama, what are you doing? Why are you in the sun? Because the was tiny, so she brought it out to the open place so that she can see the number. She has called the first number. She's about to call the second and the third when the daughter came. Mama, what are you doing? They called her from the bank so that she can help them. They can help her to renew the ATM card. This was how the daughter, slapped Mama from the bank. These are scammers. If not for that girl, I can tell you, immediately she released that last 2 digits, what she will see on her ATM, on her account, is debit alert. Debit alert, because they would have been able to withdraw the entire 5 million, if not for that girl. So what we're saying is that in a time like this, we should be conscious of clicking email that has or mail that has attachment. Number 2, when you see, an email or an information requesting for your bank details, don't respond.
Avoid
Number 3, when you are called to provide your ATM card for ATM renewal, please don't respond. This is our fastest way without hassle, without stress. This scammer can get money from your account. Thank you.
True. So these are quite common. I mean, these are quite common examples that you've given, Doctor. And I agree with you, they are commonplace. So many Nigerians are falling prey, are falling victims to these scams. But apparently, Doc, the financial services industry is especially vulnerable to cyber attacks because most transactions take place over the internet with wireless communication and cloud computing. So we're seeing a rise, geometric rise in cyber attacks targeting personal savings and specifically targeting bank accounts. Even when, and Doc, this is the question, even when we have passwords, even when we have facial recognition software, even when we have biometrics safeguards, we still see some of these things, happen to individuals and families, over time. How can our viewer watching right now protect him or herself? How can Nigerians protect themselves from issues such as identity theft, from account cloning, and related stuff that we're seeing play out these days?
Thank you, presenter. I want you to know there is a type of attack called insider attack. Insider attack. In a recent, seminars that are organized for some stakeholders in Nigeria, I let them know that one of the most dangerous attacks today is insider attack. And what do I mean by insider attack? When people that you so much trusted, when people that have your details now use it against you. Take for instance, account officer For instance, an account officer will be malicious in nature. And you as a customer, you have so much depend on this account officer. In fact, there are times he helps you to withdraw money on your behalf. You have to be very careful with the way and manner you relate your personal credentials with account officers. If this happens, it will be very difficult themselves to identify this fraud. Account officers are human beings. They are insider, and they knew you very, very well, so they have to everything about you. It is not a mistake for you to depend on them, but you also need to be watchful. That's one. Number two, people around you can be a man in the middle attack. When we say man in the middle attack, immediately you knew that someone around you knew your password.
Okay.
Please change the password. You must develop that culture of changing your password. Take, for instance, when someone knows your age, it's very easy. You know, you agree with me? If I with you for a week, I will know your date of birth. And once I know your date of birth, it is likely that you use this same date of birth in your as a PIN or in some of your transactions. And the highest you could do is to use permutations by changing, the number in a particular order. So it is advisable you don't use this at all. And when you knew very well that someone is already aware of your password, change the password. Another thing you must note in a time like this is your app that is on your system. Disable savings. What do I mean by disable savings? What I mean is that when you log into some app, it will prompt you to save. Don't save. Because if you save, whenever hackers or fraudsters lay hold on your phone or the gadgets, there will be no need for them again to log in because you have already saved the login settings. It's automatically registered on your phone. So you need to disable this. You need to disable it. And I want to say this, which I want the entire Nigerians to please pay attention. Wherever you know you save your children life savings, please disable USSD.
Okay.
Remove the mobile app from such accounts, as well as deactivate the ATM. Because if you have these three options on your account is vulnerable. Your account is vulnerable. Because anytime you misplace those gadgets, it does not take up 5 minutes to have access to your account. This is how they do it.
So the fact that, for instance, I'm using a mobile device I use a mobile device for my transactions mostly. And I use biometrics features to log into my account. You've talked about insider factor, coming to play. But wouldn't it require me gaining access for directly gaining access to enable a transaction for someone else to be able to effect that transaction? And I'll give you an example. For most payments that I want to make, most times, my bank will send me a one-time OTP, an OTP to conclude that transaction. It comes to my account. I need to use some sort of password, whether it's my thumbprint or whether it's a physical, token. My token is not here. I would have showed you, like a physical token or an internet token. All of these features, how do they play out? I mean, don't they help secure transactions online?
Yes.
Or do I just take it that they are just a waste of time? That no matter
Yes.
that,
Yes.
please go on.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
When you, for example, God forbid, you misplace that phone. When you misplace that phone, for instance,
Yes.
and you need to set up another mobile on your phone, then the bank will request for OTP, isn't it?
That's true.
When they request for OTP, the adults will top up their game. After they top up their game, they knew the OTP has been sent to you, and the OTP is going to be for 1 minute. Before they carry out that, they will carry out what we call social engineering on you. They will carry out social engineering. Yes, many Nigerians may not fall a victim, but I can tell you, 30-40% fall a victim of this every day. So what they do is that when they are about to initiate, at the point of downloading that new app on a new phone, all right, it is assumed that the former app or the former phone you use has been stolen. It's assumed. They will also assume that. So what they will do now, they want to set up another app on the same app on their own phone. So they knew that the bank will send OTP to the main number.
That's correct.
So what they will do, in the process of downloading it, they will enter your number so that OTP will be sent to you. But before the number is entered, they will have engaged you. And that's what we call social engineering. They will put a call to you. They will say, hello, how are you? We realize that there's, your mobile app is having some technical issues, and we are at the back end rectifying the mobile app so that it can be more efficient. You will say yes. Please, an OTP will be forwarded to you now. Can we forward it back to us so that, or you call the OTP so that we can help you to rectify the problem at the back end. Many Nigerians will fall a victim of this. They will call the number, and as soon as they call the number, they will enter the number. By so doing, the mobile app on your own phone will be disabled totally. Their own will be enabled, and that is how they start operation. So
Doc,
your fingerprint, your iLink, or whatever you use, is immaterial. Because if it can be set up on your phone, I can actually set it on another phone once I have the valid credentials.
We're listening you there for a minute, Doc. I think we're having some issues with your audio. If you just adjust the microphone on your earpiece so we can hear you loud and clear.
So
otherwise, no, it's perfect now. I think it's good. It's back. And I hear all you've said. And yes, you know, there's something we say colloquially. We say that format in Pidgin English, that format don't cast. I mean, it's there. They use it, but people know it. And in spite of that, Nigerians still fall prey. And that is because we're seeing an increasing use of mobile banking apps. And then we're also seeing that mobile malwares are also becoming significant threats and that we should be worried about. Earlier on, you talked about passwords and as a way of safeguarding, you know, these some of these transactions that we carry out online for our online banking transactions. Doc, I want to ask you some questions revolving around the issue of passwords. When you said, you know, change your passwords, upload your passwords, change your passwords intermittently or regularly, or all of that. Can you give us tips first, in the first instance, on how to create strong, unique passwords for our mobile phones, and then perhaps also speak to the issue of how individuals can regularly or intermittently update these passwords?
When you want to create a password, it is expected you use the following, criteria. Number one, the first letter should be capital letter. Number two, the subsequent letter should be small letter. Number three, you add numbers to the password. Number four, you add special characters. Special characters like $, $, factorial, and so on and so forth. Why? Because when immediately you add numbers and add or special characters to it, it will be very difficult for such hacker to break into your network, irrespective of the tools they have to break into the network. When you apply $, and @ with number, it takes the hacker about 1 month to break into your password. Yes, it takes them about 1 month to break into your network. But if you use a letter directly, it does not take them 5 minutes to break into your password. So if you want to use a strong password, ensure it has the following factors. One, the letters is in capital letter. Number two, there is a small letter. Number three, there is a numeric value. Number four, there is a special character. Special character, $, factorial. All these signs, as you add them, it increases your password, strength. It strengthens your password. And it is also very difficult for hackers to break into it. So there are password crackers. So these tools are also there.
So, Doc, I mean, okay, so there are people dedicated to just breaking people's passwords.
Does that password crackers?
So, Doc, does that mean, in spite of all you've said and talked about to enhance safety, whether on laptops or whether on mobile devices like our mobile phones and all of that, does it mean that my phone, for instance, this phone is not completely safe?
No, it's not safe. Let me tell you this. I don't know if I've heard about flashing and unlocking.
Oh, yes.
Yes. What is flashing and what is unlocking?
Flashing ordinarily is when you want to remove all of the data in a phone. So they flash and it becomes like tabula rasa, empty, devoid of any data. And then unlocking is perhaps maybe I have some password, I've passworded the set or the device, and then, someone unlocks it somehow, somewhat.
Yes, you have become an actor in training. You have become an actor in training. Do you know that there are bots? There are boxes that is used to unlock your password. When we say unlocking means that that's your phone. If I found it, there are tools, there are unlocking box in the market that the tech have produced for me to connect your phone to that box and run a program on it. It will show me your password.
When you say on the market, Doc, do you mean the dark web or the open market? The dark web or the open market?
In the tech there, the box is there.
So are we not somewhat enabling? Are we not enabling some of the scams and phishing expenditures
It is yes. It is the produced it to avoid you losing your data and your phone. Okay. But now the scammers are not taking advantage of it. Are you with me now? Take for example now, if you forgot your password and you cannot remember the password again.
Doc, I need you. Sorry again for butting in here. I need you to be very, very clear on this, and perhaps maybe you need to adjust your microphone one more time so Nigerians can hear you say this. So no matter how much password and how unique my password is, whether I put a capital letter, small letter, one unique numerical value, it can be hacked.
Yes, there are tools, there are passwords, there are unlocking. I told you now, we have flashing and unlocking. You have said it. Flashing means to remove the firmware, the operating system that comes with the phone, the mobile operating system. You remove it, then you load another one. Unlocking means I will connect the phone to that box, run a program, some password that you use.
So, Doc, sorry, I'm losing you. I'm losing you there. I need you to adjust your mic. I'm losing you again, and it's quite unfortunate that your audio is breaking, and it has happened a couple of times. I need you to land. I need you to land on something because we're fast losing time. I need you to end on this, Doc. If you can hear me.
No.
Yes, great. If you can hear me, Doc, please land on this because I've been told that we're fast losing time. How helpful is the two-factor authentication, that we have on our phones, especially for some applications? That's the one that they call the 2FA, as an essential security measure. Can you explain, number one, how the 2FA works and why it is crucial for protecting sensitive information such as bank accounts, login, and credentials, perhaps? Sometimes we're told that it comes with an end-to-end encryption. So if you're saying all you're saying, are you saying that in spite of this end-to-end encryption, it can still be de-encrypted?
Yes, there is nothing that cannot be decrypted. It is only you that needs to top up your measures, your precautionary measures. I said it and I repeat it. There is nobody all over the world that cannot be hacked. Yes. Highly sophisticated personality in US were hacked. Let me paint a scenario. In 2020, Michael Parker, the CIO of US Air Force, said they have built a highly sophisticated cybersecurity infrastructure. As such, nobody can hack them. One of the members of the committee said, "You cannot say that, sir. Let's call hackers to come and test our network." Nnamdi, more than 60 hackers hack into their network and discover 460 vulnerabilities.
So Doc, in rounding off, what is the best that we can do as individuals, as families now? Are there still the three things you've said?
Yes, two-factor authentication is very, very good and is the top of all the layers of security now. But people breach two-factor authentication by falling into social engineering problem.
Okay.
When you're called, before you go ahead to begin to discharge your information, verify the authenticities of the person talking to you. Number two, when you say yes or no on your phone, before you answer yes, read the information. Preferably, answer no. Because this information will come for you to verify, for you to authenticate. You will still be the one going ahead to authenticate by yourself when you are supposed to deny it. So 2FA is very, very good. It's a top layer security, but people, due to their ignorance.
I think we've lost Dr. Asogbo there. If we still have him there, do we still have him there? I'd like to thank Dr. Oluwayomi Godwin Asogwon. We've been talking with him for the last couple of minutes. He is the President and Chief Executive Officer at Global Tech World Professional Limited. He is a certified ethical hacker, a forensic investigator, IT expert, and cybersecurity arbitrator. I'd like to thank him so much for joining us on Insight. Of course, we would look for another avenue to bring him. I think we should have a continuation of this conversation. I want to believe you would agree with me. I mean, it's the start of the year, and would like to see families, individuals and families safeguard their savings and digital assets. Thank you so much, Dr. Asogwon, for joining us. We would look for another avenue to bring you on the program. And just before we wrap things up here for this week, I'd like to make our call to action. As we delve into the world of cybersecurity, it is clear that protecting your digital fortress is more crucial now than ever. Don't let cyber threats compromise your personal finances, your identity, and yes, your peace of mind as well. Here's what you can do. Stay informed, secure your devices, be cautious online, use strong passwords, and lastly, back up your data. Make efforts today to protect yourself and protect your family digitally. And yes, like I said, you can start that today. That's a wrap on Insight for this week. Do join us same time next week for more on the program. My name is Nnamdi Odikwo. I'll see you again soon.